welcome everyone to another adventure into reality. Today I'm joined by Albert from Quantum Stones. Welcome, Albert. How you doing today?
I'm doing terrific, Andrew. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Today we're going to be talking about crystals, Kirlian photography. Tell us how you got started with stones.
Well, it's interesting. My background is actually working for a major corporation since I was 18 years old. And my background is in engineering. So I was your typical individual with, you can say, a left brain heavily influenced background. Mm-hmm. And I could never see myself involved with crystals at that time. So as life progressed, when I was in my 30s and 40s, something pulled me deeply to be involved in the mineral kingdom itself. So that's when I started with clay. I felt that I wanted to clean up my body. I wanted to understand how minerals affect the body. And it was just instinctive. It was like this pulling feeling that I needed to understand, study, and be involved with clay as a way of detoxifying the body. And what I've discovered from using clay is all the wonderful benefits that minerals have internally, because it's the foundation of health to a certain degree, because most people don't think that the mineral kingdom has any credence in their life, but we're affected by it every day, and everything that we put in our body, whether it's plants, whether it's you're drinking milk or water, you're getting minerals induced into your system. And I wanted to understand what those minerals did in my body. So to make a long story short, I think I studied for about 2 years the effects on clay with the body, and also how I could help other people understand and benefit from using clay, which my first website was called spiritdetox.com, and it did really well. It's still up and running, and it's one of the foundations to me starting in the next phase of getting more into the crystals on how it affects you from an external, not so much internal, but external part of life.
Beautiful. What I've noticed from crystals is they affect the pH of our body, the electrical conductivity, whether it's pink tourmaline, black tourmaline, crystal quartz, rose quartz. It is always adding some form of charge that is neither positive or negative, but a flux or a flow that is continuing adding to our pulsating auric frequency.
I would agree with that. But when you look at the plant and the mineral kingdom, they all have energy vibrations. They all have a specific usage, whether it's external, whether it's medicinal, and the mineral kingdom is the same way. I think a lot of individuals kind of take nature for granted in the sense of maybe what they put in their body, or maybe not understanding that everything is alive and vibrating, and that the more that you understand and tap into the abilities of the plant and mineral and even the animal kingdoms, it enhances your life so much more greatly, because I think we become so desensitized in electronics, computers, televisions. We've become kind of disconnected from the natural world.
Through all sorts of dirty electromagnetic frequencies. And crystals are not a dirty electromagnetic frequency. They're natural.
They're natural, and crystals themselves and the mineral kingdom, when you really stop and think about it, it is the foundation of all technology. I don't care if it's a radio, if it's a computer, if it's a cell phone. Without the mineral kingdom, technology in its very nature would not exist.
So true. It is through vibration and the understanding of vibration that we can learn the crystal and mineral community's individuated purpose to work with us as individuals, collectives, or semi-collectives. Crystals find themselves in collectives. They're gathered from mines, in which miners come together as a collective to bring out to the world. Oftentimes, these crystals have their own agenda, find their own humans to take them on their journey where they're supposed to go, and to be crafted into what they are finally meant to be.
I totally agree. Let's put up slide 1. I wanted to cover something that Einstein basically said. Basically, everything is vibration. I mean, this is Albert Einstein, that in its simplest form, everything is vibration. We hear it all the time. We hear raise your frequency and vibration. And to a certain degree, some individuals wonder what that means.
Oh, yeah. And what was Albert trying to tell us? Everything is vibration. Understanding vibration is how you perceive harmonies, disharmonies, and the way things come together in chords within the waveform.
Exactly. And it's something that I always tell people. Life itself is simplistic. We tend to overcomplicate things. We disconnect ourselves from nature, which nature is a wonderful healer. We look for exotic ways to live that separates us more away from the natural ways of healing ourselves. We look for pharmaceuticals that will numb us out and not truly addressed at the very core of whatever we need to deal with. Crystals, in their very nature, I say that they're Mother Nature's way of reconnecting back to source.
They are a tool of interconnectivity.
Most definitely.
Through interconnectivity, we get to expand our awareness by sharing vibration and frequency, which is what I call the signature frequency moment of the now. The frequency, the vibration, and the consciousness are aligning in a chord or harmony like a barbershop quartet.
I'm so happy you said that, because when you think about harmony, when your body's in harmony with its surroundings, you affect your surroundings with your harmony. It's not the other way around. You have such a deep influence on everything that comes into your energy field. Most individuals give that power away. And when you think about it, why do they call it power?
Exactly. Power is something to understand as responsibility. The responsibility the crystal and mineral community bring to us is choice of harmony and tranquility and natural beingness.
That is correct. What I wanted to do, just to keep it simplistic, let's go to a video that I've prepared that just gives the simplistic form of what the mineral kingdom can do. Okay, as you can see in the video itself, you've got components. You've got aluminum can, you've got copper, you've got rubber to insulate, and then you've also got a container. The container itself will be where everything will go into. What we're doing is we're going to make a battery. In its simplest form, we're going to put, okay,
We're going to put the aluminum can with the copper around it into the container and add the salt to it.
Yeah, we're going to put salt water into it, and the salt water, a lot of people don't realize that salt holds a charge. You have ions that are flowing in salt. Now, table salt, I don't like table salt just because how it's processed.
It's deionized.
It's deionized, they take the charge out, but there still is a charge. There's very little minerals in the salt itself, which we need minerals from salt. just to function properly.
That's right.
And as you can see in the video, what's going to happen is that you'll see the reaction between the copper, the aluminum, and the salt, and the electrical charge that's created that will drive the fan. And you'll also get a measurement on his meter that shows you in milliamps just what kind of voltage is being generated.
And we've seen ancient technology called the Babylonian batteries, which took basically grape juice or some other kind of acidic and used a copper foil and did virtually the same thing 5,000 years ago, called the Baghdad batteries.
There you go. So the whole point of this video is to illustrate, just by introducing salt into a copper and aluminum environment, that it's going to have an electrical charge. So think of when you're introducing the proper minerals into your body, what happens is it also creates a charge because your whole body is electrical.
That's right. Based off of the salinity of your blood. Your pH.
Your pH, and when you think about it, we're 70% water. And the salt acts as a medium or a charge, so everything can communicate properly. So some of the best salts to use when you're cooking would be Himalayan salt, would be real salt, will be something that's mined, not processed.
That's right.
You have to be careful with some sea salts because how they process them, they take away a lot of the vital force of the salt and the energies out of it itself.
The iodine.
Yes. So this was just a little bit of a demonstration to let individuals understand how simplistic it is to make a battery, and that to a certain degree our bodies act like a battery.
A living battery with a living algorithm that is a spirit.
That is correct. And as we get a little bit more into the interview itself, I'll have some more slides that we can have for better demonstration of just what the mineral kingdom means.
Now, one of the unique things about salt itself, from a very, let's say, spiritual esoteric process, it's the great balancer, the great neutralizer. Now, salt comes in blue, red, green. Blue salt, for me, is one of the most unique aspects of flavor that's added, and it only comes from certain places in Iran. Green salt comes from Afghanistan and Turkey and stuff like that, which has different minerals in it, different aspects to it. I encourage people to go and find different forms of salt that, just as Robert has said, that hasn't been machined but has been mined, that is coming to you in rock format or pebble format, and to use that in your food, or begin to add pinches of that to water, as well as getting pH strips to test your own urine so you can begin to understand, what is my pH? pH is your electrical conductivity, means how much spirit can flow through your body then. There are times that people want mystical experiences, and guess what? Their pH of their body just can't produce it, which creates depression and disconnection from the natural world. Crystals and mineral communities come in and bridge that gap where our bodies may not be able to produce the charge, but through harmony, frequency, and vibration, we can raise our frequency to understand why toxification has limited our pH or perception and belief.
Absolutely. And when you think about what you just said, we've been so conditioned to go to the store, get processed salt, thinking that it's a spice that adds flavor to our food, where in reality, if you go back a couple hundred or thousand years, it was actually valued for its medicinal purposes and in some cultures it was valued as money.
As gold, as much as gold, because it's what's preserved food. Also, salt caves are one of the most ancient forms of healing. When people had sicknesses and disease, they will go into these caves of salt and be ionized by the energy. Even in modern history, all over the world, there are businesses from strip malls to houses that have 20, 30 tons of salt in a room and a little machine that has ground up salt, particleized, going through the room so you're standing in powdered pink Himalayan, giant hunks, 40 tons of salt in this 30 by 30 room with salt ventilated through. Ancient, old history thing of way of healing, still in modern society. And I advise people to Google salt cave in your zip code. You'd be surprised to find they're all over the world.
Exactly. And one thing I would definitely say, as you go on a spiritual journey, understanding the mineral kingdom will help you achieve goals quicker, because what it does, it brings a healing into your mind, body, spirit. It will reconnect you to higher, I call it higher realms of information, knowledge, knowing, because we've been so programmed from a young age and disconnected through belief systems that we've lost that sense of knowing from a child.
Right. And the other aspect that crystal and mineral kingdoms bring to us is companionship and friendship on that journey. The journey and the pilgrimage to the sacred self is an alone inner journey, but we still have companions along the way. The inner great work that we do is our self-processing. And many people get lost in what is self-processing versus sharing of the experience. Crystal and mineral communities are sharing our experience through their frequency, through their vibration, adding to our frequency and vibration, companionship, as well as their energy, which is helping drive and force our energy frequencies, our will and determination to go forward each and every day in knowingness, not in distraction from the global narrative.
Exactly. I think the more that we're able to disconnect from television, from phones, from a lot of the other electronic devices, especially if you want to heal your body and spirit and truly take a journey, it's necessary to get out in nature, to take your shoes off, and you will be surprised just one day in nature how much better you feel, because you're able to discharge a lot of that negative energy that you've accumulated in your aura.
Yes.
That holds you back.
I call it very slow lightning that comes out of you, that we've been holding in, and there's bungee cords of ourself attached to it that's trying to get out of our frequency, but can't because we're in the perception of indoors. And then when we get outside, that bungee cord stretch, and pink, one comes off, and another, until finally we're said, wow, there's a weight off my shoulders.
Exactly, and where healing comes in, when you really think about it, when you're communing with nature, when you're quiet, when you hear birds or you hear the ocean or you hear just nature in general, and you're surrounded by all these ionic charges, what it does, it has such a strong rejuvenating principles, because I truly believe ions carry information that help also to repair parts of your body.
Absolutely. As well as store information. Our bodies are instruments of perception, perspective. Our DNA is the instrument of the experience. We are a crystalline DNA frequency. Water is a crystalline frequency. Our bones are a crystalline frequency. We are always under pressure from the gravity of this world, meaning whenever a crystal is under pressure, it is creating the piezoelectric effect. The water crystalline of our water is under pressure. We are pH-driven beings who have an awareness of an I am inside them. An I am that's experiencing the world through the instrument of experience, our DNA, our perception, our mothers, our fathers, the generations before and the generations that are to come. Crystals and mineral communities are legacies of these moments of now that have made it to the surface world, waiting to be passed to the next person, the next and the next. So there is a cyclical evolution of knowledge.
And one thing I can also say, that the mineral kingdom is very fascinating, where you think you may know something 1 minute, it is extremely vast.
Vast.
Let's pull up slide 3. I want to show you something. Okay, slide 3 basically shows you a crystal disk. The University of Southampton has created a crystal that can store 360 terabytes of data. It's only about 1 inch round. You can see how big it is. And that gives you an ideal of how vast and how expansive of amount of information you can store on something so tiny. And this crystal is virtually you can't destroy it easily at all.
It's virtually indestructible. Yeah.
That's right. And if you Google Superman crystal, you'll be able to find out a little bit more, but you can see how technology is getting smaller. You're able to store more information on it, and it's pretty amazing how far we've come in a short period of time.
Less than 100 years ago, it was the crystal tip of a needle on a vinyl album, and now it's 300 terabytes.
And that's for right now.
So right now, exactly.
You can imagine in the next 5 years, it'll probably be triple or quadruple that.
Exactly.
All that information at your fingertip.
Literally, tip.
So what I can say personally is that I've gained a different respect for my reality. I've gained a different respect for Mother Nature by understanding the different kingdoms, plant, animal, mineral, how they all work together. Very blessed to go down this journey and to be able to share what I've learned with other individuals. And there's other individuals that I talk to almost on a daily basis that are very curious about crystals, and we'll talk about some of the creations that I've put together in the form of pendants that people can wear here in a moment. But I guess I wanted to just pause and let people know that if you have a connection with crystals, if it's pulling you, if you feel divinely guided, that's something that you need to follow. It will take you on a journey where you are intended to go. And it's not about what other people say. Because as I went down this journey to understand this, people thought I was crazy. Why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? Does it make sense? But I can honestly say that I've transformed completely into the person that I'm intended to be. The journey's not over. I don't see an end to the journey, because now I'm in the wonderment of everyday unfolding.
The natural synchronicities of the crystals are coming to and from your energy field, bringing you pulses of inspiration, creation, and dreams to create a pendant that is a technology, an assemblage of crystal knowledge that has been a form of a jewelry, something that is an age-old artistic technique since the dawn of accessorizing the human body.
Oh, most definitely. What I wanted to do is kind of like the previous slide shows, where you can store a lot of information in a crystal. So part of the designs that I've come up with also includes programming the crystals, coming up with harmonic codes, coming up with healing codes that is transmitted from the pendant to the end user. A lot of individuals say, well, why would you want to program a pendant? The reason why you program a pendant is because, like anything else, it enhances the experience. The information that passes through from that program will make a bigger difference, because you can program your own pendants with your intentions. But what I find, like we talked about with the pH balance, most people don't have a strong enough intent and signal to make a difference when they're working with crystals.
Exactly. Much to like a Wi-Fi signal that is 60 feet away, you may be able to get one text message for it, but you'll never get a phone call through.
Exactly. And I think the biggest message that I've learned from this, as you expand your auric field, as you increase the energy and power within your own being, you really do affect not only your reality, but others around you, because that information with your intent is transmitted and transferred to others as well.
Yes. That intent has many levels of awareness behind it. There's adult intent, and then there's young adult and baby intent. The most basic form of intent is my intention is to do good. My awareness may limit me of all that is good and bad, but my intent is there. Adult intent is we saying, I am choosing to make a moment relevant to me through my conscious application of the sacred, meaning I'm turning off the global infrastructure of distraction, telephone, internet, people trying to get a hold of you, so that you are solely in communication with the self at that moment, who is able to commune and find union with other companions in the energy frequency that are crystals, that are always singing to us like a barbershop quartet. We must simply tune in, slow down, understand, process, and love in return, unconditionally.
And unconditionally, we've been taught all of our lives to place conditions upon everything.
So true. Conditions on everything.
But the true power is in the opposite. It's in being unconditional. Yeah. That's when things flow through you.
And we do that by understanding expectations create our limitations. There are times our brain fills in the blanks, and it's sometimes correct. That is basic expectation. Crystals are precognition. There is no relevance between guessing and precognition. It's in your knowingness.
And your knowingness, and also trusting your knowing.
It's so true. That's the other part of staying awake with the pH that can drive for the biochemical soup of awareness. That's the endurance of life. Why living the mystical life is a daily path, not a monthly or yearly reflection.
And once you go down that path, what I tell everyone, when you get to a certain point, you can't go back, because there's nothing to go back to.
Point of no return. Go to an illusion and accept an illusion and become delusional, or stay awake and carve out something that you love so you can thrive.
Exactly. I mean, when you look at today's world, you turn on the internet, you see all these distractions around you, political, medical, militarily. If you were to put all your intentions into that, it shrinks your auric field. You actually start to create and experience what you see. And instead of being someone that's going to make a difference in the world, you're just a part of what's happening. And it's happening to you from your own self.
Right. Because you are acting in an unsovereign manner, allowing your awareness to be used or abused. When one finds the sovereign self, and has sovereign companionships in the crystal and mineral and animal medicine communities, you have a whole different point of view that is not limitation or suppression, but the unlimited point of view. And all the unlimited point of view is a recognition that whatever limitations you might have in the moment, you will actively try to deprogram you, so you can maintain the potential of unlimited point of view. For in unlimited point of view will be the greatest inspiration, creation, and understanding of how to act in the now.
Exactly. Where when you get to that certain point, you can see a video, and you can tell if someone's telling the truth or not just because of your own knowing. We have all these instincts, senses, and ability that we have nullified. And once you go through that healing process and reconnection process, what it does, it allows the proper information through your filters to know what the truth is. And when you know what the truth is, then you also know how to survive in that environment.
So well put. Surviving in the environment until such a time you can learn to thrive in the environment.
Exactly. Exactly. So just getting back to the pendants and why they're programmed, we've got many different codes that are harmonic from nature that has everything to do with healing from anxiety and depression. For example, we have a frequency. Sound of the sun. I think sometimes we take the sun itself for granted, but without the sun, its frequencies and information, we would not survive in this reality. It communicates with plants, animals. It communicates and creates vitamins within our body. There's constant frequencies coming from the sun.
Albert, we have gone over some incredible material. Now your next slide is going to be talking about auras, how the pendants affect the auras, some of the science that's behind there. Let's delve into the aura, and how these pendants affect it.
Okay, let's pull up slide 4. I'll show you what your typical aura looks like before a pendant is put on and what it looks like after one of our pendants are put on. In this particular slide, you can see the before. It's just kind of dull. There's not much light. It's not much brightness. It's just there. And after, you can see where the whole auric field is lit up. You can look at the heart area. You can see that it starts to open up. There's a light right there by the heart. And then what we found by wearing our pendants is that it has an effect on your whole auric field, your chakra system. We already talked about ions and how ions affect your auric field because of the energy that's being produced by these ions. So what happens is the pendants that we've created, there's different types of crystals, whether it's quartz, lapis lazuli, rose quartz, different characteristics of crystals will have a different effect on the wearer. We also wrap it in a silver silver wrap, which helps to attract the ions, kind of like the battery that we looked at. It helps to take those ions that are being thrown off from the crystal, that when you wear it next to your skin, that information is being transferred into your auric field and your body, pretty much just like the battery that we saw earlier, but it's just an pendant.
What form of photography is this?
What we're looking at right now, this is Kirlian photography. It has the ability to capture what your auric field looks like. We all have an auric field. We all have different colors in our auric field. And the auric field will change as we change. For example, if you're depressed or if you have a lot of anxiety, your auric field will tend to be very dark. It would look very heavy because of the vibration and the frequencies that you experience. If you think of your auric field, think of manifestations in the sense that whatever manifests in your auric field will also manifest in the physical. They're coming up with instruments to measure sickness before it manifests just because of your auric field will give indications of what's happening in your body because the auric field, it has to be there first. So if you keep your auric field clear and strong, the chance of manifesting certain illnesses or diseases or sicknesses, it just doesn't happen because you're not in the environment to allow it to happen.
It's preventative maintenance before waiting you get to sick to have a pill to change your frequency.
Exactly. And that's why if you have an opportunity, and there's different type of Kirlian photography that's out there, and some are much better than others. There are some that I call novelty. that will give you colors, but they really don't mean anything. Some of the older Kirlian photography cameras, like this is an older style. It actually has like a Polaroid film that it uses to capture your auric field, is much better than some of the newer digitized auric fields.
Mm-hmm. There's something in the alchemy as it goes to the paper of manifestation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when you use computers and digitize the information, it's just not as strong as clear if you're using just regular old-fashioned cameras. Yeah, that's right.
Now, some of the other slides you have show a different form, like a gas chromatic look at how the pendants are exchanging energy.
Yeah, let's take a look at slide 5, which what this is called is gas discharge visualization. It is similar to an aura photo, but what this does, it allows us to see metals and crystals on how they vibrate. You can see the energy that's coming off of this pendant that we've designed, and it's just continuous. Just think of it like a battery that's constantly putting off energy.
Mm-hmm. As well as taking in energy. It is as if it's its own dynamo of energy action.
Exactly. And what I find out from information from customers that start to use the pendants and get used to them, they go through a transformation in the sense that they get so used to having it and feel like they're so connected. Let's say if you wanted to increase abundance and prosperity in your life, one of the biggest things that holds the average person back is their self-worth.
That's right. Self-valuing and self-worth. So many people devalue themselves. When they find a crystal that gives them energy, they tend to give away a bit of perceptive power to it instead of generating their own power.
Exactly. So we do have a frequency that helps with information that allows you to heal your sense of self-worth. That is programmed into it. You can be put into many different opportunities, but if your self-worth, your self-esteem, and sense of self is not there, you will self-sabotage.
Yes.
You will.
We all have an inner saboteur as an archetype, as well as a victim and a tyrant and all of those other archetypical words that are out there. Many of us have do the great work on ourselves to see the saboteur in action. Crystals help us find the reflection or projection from others that are creating fuel for the saboteur, or the part that devalues us, or the part that's depression, regression, or obsession. Shame, blame, and guilt are the same things, ways we suppress our ability to be ourselves.
Oh, most definitely. And that's why crystals are so healing, because as you wear a crystal, you are allowing yourself to be opened up to information that you would not have been available without wearing it. So and it's like we said, you've got both ways. You've got information that's passing to your auric field, like we saw earlier, and you've got information that's being transferred to the crystal.
In a continuous cycle.
In a continual cycle. So I always tell individuals that when you go down this journey, they will help you heal. They are tools only. As you get to a certain point in life, you may or may not use them, but you will know when you need them, because they're just tools. They're not a crutch. Because once you start going through that healing process, you may not find yourself attracted at that moment, but there's certain plateaus that we all go through on this journey.
And those plateaus are moments where we may take vacations from self-transformation, and that's okay. And when we come back from the vacation of self-transformation, we discovered we have lost nothing and gained a whole new sacred point of view.
Most definitely, because it truly is a journey I think some of us feel that there's a destination. Once we get to this certain place, everything will be great and wonderful, and I'm done. That doesn't exist. That's a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale. A fairy tale of expectations, creating a limitation. There is always another stone to unturn about the self, because it's a limitless self that has set many stones in the future for you to stub your toe on, to see as a great diamond, to walk right past and not see it shining right there, or to have stones of others cast at us as projections until one day we pick a stone up and throw it back at them in love, saying, this is yours, not mine.
Exactly. And just as you said, one thing that was very difficult for me in the beginning as I went on my own spiritual journey is that I wanted to make everyone happy. I wanted to please people. I wanted to save people in certain aspects. I wanted them to see my point of view.
Yep. You want to be heard.
Exactly. My own sense of self and identity. And when you are too forceful in your own healing process, it turns people off. What I've discovered, it's really about honoring yourself and honoring other people on their journey as well. That's where the true power is.
And so that we don't step on their journey of free will, but still are able to offer advice that isn't charge or polarity, that can have some relevance to their journey.
Oh, most definitely.
So many people that are in the psychic field are working with information of true irrelevance, imprinting a person. Crystals are trying to make your life force relevant now. And when we begin to work with relevant now, we uncover parts of ourselves that want to be heard. And some of those parts want to be heard so loud, they become an obsession or a process that we give away power to others through enablement. Your desire to want to make everyone happy was an unattainable goal because there are people who will not be happy because they're not happy with themselves when they're alone in their own moments.
Exactly. And once you understand, and it really sinks in, by honoring others, it's a reflection. You will get that honor in return because there's no judgment. There's no telling someone how to live their lives. That really gets back into that unconditional.
So true. Within unconditional, there are no conditions. Unconditional love is truly the unlimited point of view.
Exactly. And when you start to live your life that way, what happens is it takes a burden away from you because we find ourselves trying to not only live our lives, but we want to live other people's lives.
That's right.
And sometimes we spend more time in other people's lives than healing our own issues.
So true. I run across this every day in my private and public sessions. People not truly investing their own time in their own uniqueness of frequency, trying to discover sacred discipline, yet can't make it work because their pH, electrical personal conductivity, is so inferior to their inspiration within. They must change their internal bodies so their spiritual internal body, going through the experience, has charge and polarity to create memories that are neither good nor bad, but memories of the potency of the experience.
Couldn't have put it better myself. And when you think about the simplicity of healing yourself, in reality, when you really heal yourself, you're also helping to heal relationships around you. Right. So if you're in relationships right now that are either abusive or relationships that are very difficult or toxic, there's nothing wrong with stepping away from those relationships. I also had to learn that it's okay to step away from it.
I call this the separation of densities. Those that are living the unsovereign life of personal charge and polarity without finding the neutral point of view each day so they can let go of the charge and polarity and see themselves on their own journey, in their own way, in their own pace, as a sovereign natural order being.
That's right. So if you are unconditional, that's what you get back. If you honor, that's what you get back. Look at it as a reflection. It will give you back what you want back.
So true. So true. Knowing what you want versus knowing what you need is inner discernment. And that is something else that crystals that have programs within it assist us at seeing old habitual patterns that repeat themselves, which are repetition without illumination, repetition for repetition's sake. Crystals assist us on the repetition with aha moments, so repetition has illumination.
Oh, most definitely. Let's pull up the next couple of slides so we can see more examples of the pendants that we have and the energy that's being transmitted to the wearer. This next pendant is called the Vortex, and you can see the swirl in the middle, but you can see the kind of like a fiery image that comes from the sides of it. So imagine yourself wearing something like this that's constantly putting off a stream of energy 24/7.
Yes.
Would you really think if that would enhance your healing process by wearing something like this?
Especially over one of your energy centers, like your heart.
Exactly, and that's where I usually tell individuals to wear their pendants as close to their heart as possible. Because when you think about your heart, the heart itself is the love aspect of your chakra.
Yep.
The heart itself is, I think of it as kind of a master communication aspect of self.
I call it a transmutation, transformation vessel that is continuously transmuting and transforming light. So transcendence is a perspective.
Yes, I would completely agree with that. So when you look at these images, let's go to the next image. The next image is going to be of a scarab, and this is one of our popular designs, and then you can really see the energy. It looks like electricity.
Like lightning bolts.
Yeah, lightning bolts that are coming off of them.
Okay. Micro lightning bolts instead of macro lightning bolts. Lightning bolts generally don't come down from the sky. Most of the time they go up.
Up. A lot of people don't understand that.
That's right.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Our eyes cannot perceive fast enough.
Exactly. So when you think of life in general, and it took me a while to understand this, everything is upside down, backward, and twisted.
I call it the upside down, inside out room of mirrors.
And when you get to the point of understanding that what you perceived life to be isn't really what it was, what you thought.
That's right. It was an illusion.
And it was a complete illusion.
Right.
And when you wake up, you find yourself in a world where most people are not awake, where it's very difficult to communicate who you are, but there are other people that you run into that you speak the same language.
That's right. Like we are. Both
exactly.
Both crystal guys, both gone through our own confirmation, affirmation, through our life process that these are things we are going to talk about and have our deepest knowingnesses with.
So the biggest thing that I can relay is that you're not alone. I know there's many individuals out there that feel like they're alone on their journey. Some friends and family don't understand how they can perceive the world in a certain way, and that they're an oddball, or that they're crazy, or that you should be locked up. But you're not alone is truly the message that I can convey. And I truly believe there's more and more people that are going through the awakening process, that are seeing through the illusions that have been placed over our eyes, and it will continue to change as time goes by, and to not really fear anything, because some people do fear death. One of the things that I've come to understand is I don't fear death. Okay. It's a transition. I've gone through it many times.
What are the rules of the universe? Energy is never destroyed. It is just transformed into something else.
And that goes back to the Einstein image that we put up. Everything is frequency and vibration. Nothing can be destroyed. And when you live your life as if you're not afraid to die, that's when you live.
That's when you get to learn to live with potency, power, as a sovereign, natural-born being, living a natural life that's still functioning in this 3D matrix as a powerful being of transforming light.
Oh, most definitely. And then you truly come from a place of joy, because when you're being happy, it's a real happy. You're not faking anything. And you will find that people want to be around you to the point that, okay, I want to be alone now, because you give off a certain frequency, a certain vibration, a certain light that they're lacking, that they've had limits on their lives, and you're like this shining ray of light that helps them find their way.
Yes. And then there are times when we're that shining ray of light and you run across a very hurt person and they attack. Crystals assist us at rejecting, suspending, and altering those attacks, or bringing our awareness to it, so that we can gently, through unconditional love, remove the potential of distortion.
Most definitely, and that was the other reason why I wanted to be involved in creating pendants, because they do offer a sense of protection. Since you saw the aura photo, how bright your aura gets. One of the practices that you should have on a daily basis, by using your imagination, expanding your auric field and making it extremely strong. So when you're in negative situations, what you do is you just go back to that image of yourself having a strong auric field. Nothing can penetrate your field, because that's your space. I truly believe that we are in a free will universe. However, you have to be responsible and exercise that right of free will by allowing those in your field, and the ones that you don't want in your field, politely let them know this is not acceptable.
That's right. That's the power of no. And if something doesn't understand no, you ask it. What part of no don't you understand, the N or the O?
Exactly. And that goes from the sense of any relationship that would be abusive to you. Mother, father, sister, brother. It's not fair to be abused.
Nope.
And those relationships will only make your healing process more difficult. And the sooner that you can get away and heal, the better you will be. And it takes some courage and power, but once you go through that process and get that respect back for yourself, once that's back, those who have abused you in the past will not be able to abuse you in the future, because you set a healthy boundary.
Borders, boundaries, rules, and policies of the 3D corporate matrix can directly apply to our spiritual points of view. How we run the incorporation of our spirit in our physical body is vitally important to how we live our purpose, how we express our purpose, how we transform and transcend energy around us. The power to be a sovereign, fully present being is your legacy to yourself. And when others are trying to outcreate yourself and imprint and project on you, it is your sovereign right to outcreate them with inspiration, joy, dreams, and happiness with such intense potency that whatever the projection is becomes irrelevant to your inspiration.
Exactly. When I started my career, I worked for a major corporation for 18 years. This was a Fortune 500 company. Corporations are notorious and I mean notorious, for taking away your sense of self. They give you a false illusion of a ladder that you climb, that you're creative, that you're a part of something, that you're valued. But in reality, they have everything figured out. And if you don't do as you're told or instructed or follow the tone, you're no longer needed.
You become irrelevant to what they're paying you for.
And the longer that you're in that situation, the more difficult it is to even honor and respect yourself, because you sold out yourself for that illusion.
I get that in private sessions from CEOs and Fortune 500 leaders every week since the beginning of starting this. People have had to sell their soul to the man for the bigger job, to raise the family, until they saw one day they're burnt out and no one in their family even wants to be around them.
And the other thing that's the most damaging, they don't know what happiness is anymore, because they were chasing a fairy tale that they got lost. And then what is reality now that that is removed?
Right. And a lot of people that come from those communities, when they begin to wear pendants like this, there's an obvious auric change. And one of your other slides represents of how the auric frequencies change when a pendant is on and off.
That is correct. Let's go ahead and pull up slide number 9. Slide 9 basically takes a look at the chakra system itself. You can see on the left side, or the left side where it says without pendant, you can see how the chakra system itself is out of balance. You can see that the heart chakra is out of alignment. You can see that the sacral chakra is also somewhat out of alignment. And if you look by wearing one of our pendants, it starts to bring things more back in balance, especially the heart chakra. That goes way back in balance. Depending on the individual, the sacral chakra may have major changes depending on where you are in your process. And this was basically after wearing the pendant for a couple minutes, like 2 minutes. Wow. It works immediately.
Yeah. Which I've seen over and over again from just a person picking up a random crystal from a pile of crystals.
And just like this, the auriflow that we saw earlier, that was like 1 minute later, the changes start to happen. Now, one thing I do want to say, this is not a miracle, meaning that you also need to participate. Crystals will not violate your free will. You need to be very attentive of your thoughts, know what your intentions are, honor the power that you have, because I truly believe crystals will take you where you want to go. However, it will not do things for you.
No.
Meaning that you are a part of the experience and the process.
Equal co-creation and non-competition, non-hierarchical order is the journey the crystals want to share with you individually. And when you come to that intent of, I'm here to equally co-create with this crystal, I'm not here to compete with it, and we are not in a hierarchical pecking order.
And that goes back to honor again, and also having no conditions. Because it's the letting go, truly. It's the letting go is when the power starts to come into you. Because what I'm finding out, even on my own journey, I've become a lot more creative, where I get visions. The best way to describe it is like a blueprint of information. Like when I created the infusion process, I didn't know anything about infusing crystals with harmonic codes, nothing whatsoever. So I gave it meditation. It was one night I woke up and it was almost as if I received a download of how to put everything together, step by step, knowing what to do. And it all manifested in the reality. And that's happening to this very day, where even in building the community of people who wear the pendants, which right now it's over 3,000 people that have purchased, bought, used. We get very little returns. I would say if I sold 1,000, we may get 1 or 2 back out of that.
Wow. Let's bring up the next slide that has a picture of the pendant. So people have seen the Kirlian photography version, the gas chromatic version. Now let's see what they look like.
Okay, the next slide that comes up, this is called Solar. And it's an Egyptian-style pendant that is intended to be as an amulet for protection. And you can see that there's an Ankh on there, and those symbols actually represent Ra, kind of a protector and a warrior. And the stone on this particular one is a rainbow labradorite stone, which labradorite within itself is a mystic kind of a stone because of a lot of the colors, the frequency and vibration. And it's really good for people who want to truly have a mystical experience, who want to accelerate their healing process.
As well as labradorite will bring up your shadow issues. It will catalyze the shadow to the surface so you can begin to neuter its ability to make changes within your sympathetic or parasympathetic.
Exactly. And this is one of our better seller pendants, and you can see the wire wrapping around it, which again, what the wrapping of those wires do help to capture the ions, which transmit to your skin. And I always recommend that when you wear crystals, you wear it on your skin. You don't want clothing between yourself and the crystal, because clothing will act like an insulator, where it won't transmit the electrical impulses or the electricity signal through to your body. And that's why you want to wear it on your skin.
So true. Now, how long ago did you make your first pendant?
It was probably 2 years ago, maybe a little bit over 2.5 years ago. So I've been at this 2.5 years. And I can honestly say I love this every moment that I do it. There's been so many wonderful stories of individuals that they've had great healing experiences that were life-changing. As far as gratitude, I know I was guided to do what I'm doing right now, instinctively, and just what I'm supposed to be doing.
Man, we've had an incredible conversation. Now let's bring up the next slide. It's got another version. You use different stones, different styles. Let's talk about what this one is for.
Okay, the next one that's coming up is a scarab. This is also rainbow labradorite for the background of the scarab itself. You can see that this is an Egyptian-styled a beetle or scarab. It's holding the sun. The body is opal, and the symbology that's around, there's 11 symbols that are basically symbols from the tarot, the tarot deck that I wanted to use for this particular design. On the website, quantumstones.com, it will give you a full description of the healing and protective symbols, because symbols themselves affect the conscious and the subconscious mind. A lot of individuals don't understand that symbology. It affects your thinking process.
Yes, both seen and unseen. Just as if a very distant stop sign, innately you already know that the hexagon in red is a stop sign, that is a symbol, that has a sigil of power behind it. And what you are doing is using symbols and sigils of power that have ancient meanings long before this person was born, as well as this time's life's mythos. And when you combine mythos, we get to that we are conscious manifesting beings, and it's not about what we think, it's about what we believe, seen and unseen. And when you take the soup of seen and unseen and you create a living algorithm of a pendant, you have a sigil of power that is creating power, not for power's sake, but for the natural living's sake.
Exactly. So one of the things that as I've created these pendants, I wanted to put the intent So people that are reading what these symbols mean and understand the intent behind it, there seems to be a collective effect. So for instance, if I create 5 of these pendants, and as each individual that comes in and wear these pendants, there seems to be a collective benefit for a group of people that are in alignment with the intent of wearing that pendant. It becomes stronger.
That's right, because there's a bond.
Exactly.
A bond that is using equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, and the common moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind as the frequency of the bonding.
And since we, as a collective, whether you want to understand how psychic abilities work, if you put your thoughts, feelings, and emotion out there, someone's got to receive it.
Exactly. Even if it's just yourself, witnessing
That's
your
right.
own power.
Whatever goes out, it's being received back from someone or something. And again, as you boost your energy field, your auric field, your vibrations like we talk about, you do have the ability to influence so much around you.
That's so true.
So
imprint,
this particular...
imprint,
Yes.
as well as influence without enablement.
Exactly. And this particular pendant is used by a lot of healers. I get healers and psychic readers that are attracted to this particular pendant that they use in their work. And it seems to be very effective for them to channel energies, for their abilities to be strengthened. And I've gotten many, many comments of how happy they were to use this.
Yeah. So Albert, of all the years you've been working on crystals, all the ones that you've created, what has been the thing that's continued to drive you forward?
You know what? A simple answer would be the unknown, because the more I think I know and start to understand crystals, the less I truly know, because when you think about the amount of different type of minerals and crystals and frequencies and abilities and metaphysical properties, I can spend literally a lifetime experiencing and putting together tools that assist other people that I couldn't even get bored from.
So we are able to have these crystals as a part of a community with us. We're able to be in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order. We get the inspiration. We're wearing this pendant. What does the future of pendants look like? What's in the next realm of imagination of creation there?
What I'm seeing happening is, and it's one of the most amazing things, is that sales have increased drastically over the last year. People are more open to use tools. People are understanding that they need certain healing and aspects. And for me, it's about building a community is the next stage where people can share their experiences, share their knowledge and wisdom. And I also want to get more into sound healing, with actually coming up with meditations that has to do with frequencies and vibrations that you can listen to, because that's also a big part of a healing process, is by introducing sounds and colors, as well as working with crystals.
That is a wonderful future to look forward. So why don't you make sure people know how to get a hold of you, your website, and where they can see your pendants?
Okay, if you go to quantumstones.com, this is where you'll find our whole collection. We also have articles on crystals. We have articles on wellness. We want to be able to actually cater more towards not just crystals, but really good information on the healing journey, using crystals, what foods to eat, the self-healing journey is really about not relying on what is considered health care. There's a big debate these days about health care. Health care starts at home. It doesn't start with your doctor. If you're not taking care of yourself, you will end up seeing a doctor. And the question is, will he take care of you properly once you're there? Because in Western medicine, we tend to treat symptoms, and what we're doing with, not the cause, where in reality with crystals, we're getting to the core of many of our emotional, physical issues that we've experienced in our lives. So the Quantum Stones site, as it continues to develop, and it's going to be a brand new look and feel coming in the future, will be a community where people can actually come and learn. And I'm going to make it where there's no ads. So when you come, you're not going to see all these ads. You will actually be accessing really good information.
Albert, thank you so much for coming on the show. I look forward to having you on another one.
Thank you, Andrew. It was great being on.